Hello again. I recently put out an update on my forthcoming debut album, Super Sexy Heartbreak, which, wait for the plug, is currently up for pre-order on my website. One of the comments on that video gave me food for thought. So here it is. Is it better for you as an artist to sell hard copies or rely on streaming? As a subscriber to a streaming platform, it will need to be something special to make me shell out for a CD to sit on a shelf. If I bought a hard copy, it would sit on a shelf and probably only ever get played once. I assume that this would generate some income, but I presume over the course of a decade or more of streaming, there is actually a better return on investment. Just interested on which method fits better with ROI. The answer? One CD equals. Actually, give me a moment to explain. I've given streaming a lot of thought over the past few years because it's been one of the major innovations in the music industry and has also had a profound effect on artist income. First of all, yes, I am part of the problem as I do subscribe to Spotify, YouTube Premium, and Apple Music. The ability to play pretty much anything I want within a few clicks is incredible. It's meant I've broadened my tastes quite significantly and saved time by not listening to or watching adverts. The algorithmic recommendations are also just incredibly good on these sites. I have discovered some of my favourite new songs and artists through its suggestions. And if you're putting out your own music, it's still one of the best chances of being discovered and quickly gaining traction, particularly if you're added to a popular playlist. But it's also true that my experience of listening to music is very different, even with the artists I absolutely love. I don't cherish the work in the same way. New releases are quickly forgotten about or not even gotten around to in the first place. I'll save them and maybe forget about them. And there are other downsides too, particularly to do with artist income, which you may or may not be aware of as a casual user. So I thought it would be an interesting topic to dive into. By the way, if you do enjoy what I do, please consider subscribing. It would really help me out. Now, I fully admit that I haven't put as much time into building my Spotify following as I have YouTube. I have about 4,000 monthly listeners. That's unique users who stream my music at least once within a 28-day window. In the grand scheme of things, that's really very low. Ed Sheeran, as one of the world's biggest artists, has over 82 million monthly listeners. Rosalia has just shy of 41 million. Lizzie McAlpine has 11.5 million. But I'm not too worried because these are major artists with major labels behind them, whereas I'm only just releasing my first album, haven't really been delivering anything to Spotify recently, and trying to work on that sustainable long-term career as an independent artist. Definitely not worried. Not worried at all. My top 5 songs have between 347,000 and 38,000 streams. Streams officially count once a listener has reached the 30-second mark on the song, which is why a lot of these songs nowadays are doing away with long intros. Each time you listen to the same song, it counts as a different stream. My most streamed song is Primrose, so let's look at the stats for streaming income. To keep it simple, I'll list the income in US dollars. On Spotify, the rough total income for this song is $1,388.05. Apple and Amazon Music are roughly comparable at $1,735. So per stream, I earn around 0.003 cents. For comparison, Tidal, a rival artist-owned streaming site, pays quite a bit better, around 0.12 cents per stream. Primrose came out as a single in 2019, so that income has been spread over 4 years. My most recent release, The Great Wave, which came out March 1st, 2022, that's had around 38,504 streams, which equates to $154.02 or 0.004 cents per play. The Great Wave was recorded at Birmingham Conservatoire with a string quartet and cost roughly $4,000 to record, mix and master. Expensive, yes, but it was a special event for me and I partnered with Universal Audio. So it would take 1 million streams to break even and recoup the cost. If that's one of 10 tracks of a similar cost on an album, then let's call it around 10 million. As for a sustainable yearly income, using the federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour or $13,920 annually, At an average per stream revenue of 0.003 cents, I would need 4,640,000 streams per year to earn minimum wage. If you've been good enough to pre-order my album from my website, you've equated to 8,333 streams on Spotify. Go you. Spotify pays royalties based on what they describe as the artist's market share or stream share, which is the number of streams of their songs as a proportion of total songs streamed on the service. This is from their website. We distribute the net revenue from premium subscription fees and ads to rights holders to calculate net revenue. We subtract the money we collect but don't get to keep. This includes payments for things like taxes, credit card processing fees, and billing, along with some other things like sales commissions. From there, the rights holders' share of net revenue is determined by stream share. We calculate stream share by tallying the total number of streams in a given month and determining what proportion of those streams were people listening to music owned or controlled by a particular rights holder. Contrary to what you might have heard, Spotify does not pay artist royalties according to per play or per stream rate. The royalty payments that artists receive might vary according to differences in how their music is streamed or the agreements they have with their labels or distributors. Spotify says it distributes approximately 70% of its total revenue to rights holders, who then pay artists based on their individual agreements with their label, and we all know that labels often have really fair and reasonable agreements with artists, don't we? That was sarcasm. Some big names have decided to fight back against the system over the years. Major acts like Coldplay, Beyoncé, and Adele have all imposed delays of weeks or even months before their new releases are made available. Taylor Swift has used her considerable power as the world's biggest artist to raise attention too. I'm not willing to contribute my life's work to an experiment that I don't feel fairly compensates the writers, producers, artists and creators of this music, and I just don't agree with perpetuating the perception that music has no value and should be free. Obviously, she's working in a slightly different manner now, back on Spotify and re-recording her older material, but that's for another video. In March 2014, Wolfpack created an album called Sleepify, which was an entirely silent record. They asked their fans to play the album on a loop while they slept to help them earn a living. Spotify pulled the album in April 2014, citing an unspecified service violation, but not before the band earned around $20,000 in royalties. Tom York, the Radiohead frontman and solo artist, has also been critical of the service. In a 2013 interview, he said, "I feel like as musicians, we need to fight the Spotify thing. I feel that in some ways, what's happening in the mainstream is the last gasp of the old industry. Once that does finally die, which it will, something else will happen." Like Taylor Swift, Radiohead have since allowed their albums on Spotify, but only with a 6-week wait from its initial release date. They're a brilliant example of artists with a fan base exploring new ways of making an income from their music. Brought out at the height of the music piracy boom, their 2007 album In Rainbows was initially released as a pay-what-you-want download on their website, with the band saying this liberated them from conventional promotional formats and removed barriers to audiences. The move garnered huge worldwide attention, both positive and negative. Time magazine called it easily the most important release in the recent history of the music business, whereas Lily Allen called it an arrogant move that set a bad precedent, saying, "You don't choose how to pay for eggs, why should it be different for music?" The band's publishers admitted that despite the experiment, illegal downloads for In Rainbows outranked those that paid for it, but Radiohead still reportedly made an instantaneous $3 million from downloads, with an average price paid worldwide estimated at $6 per customer. Now, with more traditional media, for every major label CD album sold, the label receives about 30% of the profits, with 10 to 13% going to the artist, depending on their deal. If you bought an album on iTunes that costs $9.99, the label receives $5.35 of that, while the artist gets somewhere between 90 and 99 cents. The rest gets eaten up by distribution, manufacturing, retail costs, taxes, and so on. Distribution charges made a whole lot more sense when it required warehouses and physical labour, less so when it's just uploading files. Remember too that the label recoups all of their cost from the artist's share, the cost of recording, or even that steak dinner they so kindly treated you to. It's all billed from your own income. Radiohead didn't have a label at the time, but they did have the benefit of years of major label support behind them in growing a fan base. And that's where you come in. If you've watched this far, you are directly helping support my music career. I have put a lot of heart and soul into this record, and it will be me sitting at my kitchen table, hand signing all these CDs and stuffing envelopes, I think with my family members. I've been putting a lot of work into making a beautiful object. So yeah, trust me, it's going to be a nice experience. And when the time comes, I will be releasing the album track by track on streaming services. In the meantime, if you feel like helping me out, then please go and follow me, whatever streaming service you use. Give some of my other songs a spin and add them to any playlists that you have and share them with friends. Or, if you'd be so kind, pre-order the physical copy. It will come with a high-res digital download too, so yes, you don't even need a CD player, but you are truly supporting the cause. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something, and as always, I'll be seeing you here again very, very soon.